Hello, welcome to Financial Detox. I'm Jason Labrum, your host with Alex Klingensmith in studio, and we are excited to be here with you today on another edition of Financial Detox, helping you avoid toxic financial advice and manage your wealth for maximum impact. Alex, how are we doing? Are we ready to roll today?
I cannot wait to talk about Roth conversions.
I think that's it. I mean, we are going to deep dive a particular topic today that means in some cases, millions of dollars. That's not a typo, not misspoken. Literally millions of dollars potentially to be saved by looking at the tax aspect of your investment management and your financial planning, as well as just the portfolio management. And too often, Alex, we see prospective clients that come to our firm who've been working with an advisor for years, sometimes decades. And that advisor over decades has often never even addressed the tax aspect of investing. And that's scary because there's so much opportunity. And one of the things we've done at IDA Wealth and Financial Detox is incorporated CPAs into our business and tax returns for our clients so that when we're doing financial planning, a core part of how we help clients, we're taking a very deep dive look at the tax aspect. And this case that we're going to share today was an example of a client, names are hidden for privacy purposes, but an exact and actual client example of how we use the Roth conversion strategy to help them put an extra $1.5 million in their portfolio assets over their lives, which I can't think of many people who wouldn't want to add an extra $1.5 million to their portfolio by a simple strategy. So we're going to have a blast exploring that today.
Let's back up even just one step further, just to frame kind of Roth, right? So I think people do a great job. You get a good job, you start making money, you start saving money. And most people defer some of the money. That their step one is to maybe save money into a 401k, right? So yeah. 401k, an IRA, a 403b, that's pre-tax money. Good job. Invest the money. It's pre-tax. It's never paid taxes before. Then let's say you also happen to open up like an individual account or a trust account. You save after-tax money. That's awesome too. After-tax money is great. It then grows. You've already paid tax on it. It starts to grow with different kinds of taxability later on. Then you've got, I think, the best kind of money. I think free money is probably the best money if someone gives you money. But okay, forget that for a minute. Like tax-free money is the best kind of money. That's what Roth is, right? That's where Roth comes into play. Yeah. So how do you build up this tax-free money? I have a real quick story, and then I'm going to let you take it away on the visual. But
do it.
So remember the Mitt Romney story about his Roth IRA? What happened with that?
Nope, but help remind us.
So I had to look it up this morning.
I think once you get going, I'll remember. But
there was a story about how many people you're limited on how much you can put into Roth, right? If you don't do a conversion, which we're going to talk about conversion, but if you're going to contribute into a Roth 401k, you have the 401k contribution limits. If you're going to contribute into a Roth IRA, much lower amount you can put in every year, like 5 or 6 or 7,000 a year. They keep moving it up a little bit.
Yep.
But if you invest, let's say you invest, and you need to invest the Roth money so they can grow. Otherwise, it probably didn't make sense from a math perspective, right? It's got to grow. Aggressive growth is, depending on how you define that.
So if you invest Roth money in a 1% interest-bearing account, you might have defeated the purpose of the Roth.
Most likely, because you might as well just put it in a pre-tax at that point. But
right.
So Mitt Romney, he was, Bain Capital, and he had private shit. He had a private company at the time. And he invested or contributed into a Roth IRA with these private shares that then
shares. I thought you said he had private SHIT
shares.
I was
shares.
Like, no. That's interesting. We've never really presented that way on Financial Detox. I think you got to leave it in, man. That's
private shares, private units.
He meant to say shares. Okay.
of something. Think of like a penny stock, perhaps, but Bain Capital is not a penny stock,
right?
But if I was to contribute penny stock and then all of a sudden the penny stock went to be worth Apple's kind of valuation, now your Roth IRA has sheltered all that growth from taxes. So his Roth IRA went from like 5 or 6 or 10 or 100,000 up to tens of millions of dollars, his Roth IRA. Gosh.
So when you're contributing to a 401k, I think what you're saying, which almost everybody who's working in America has an option to contribute to some type of 401k, but you're saying to me that we can, or to our listeners, that we can either contribute on a tax deferred basis where that money goes in We don't pay tax today, which is lovely, but eventually later, we're going to have to pay tax when we take that money out. And that's one way. But then you're also saying, I have no income limitation if in my 401k, I want to defer my money to the Roth portion of that 401k, where I say, I'm willing to pay taxes today so that I can get tax-free growth tomorrow, next year, and for every year thereafter, the rest of my life. So you have that option. Alex, don't you find it mind-boggling how many clients that can and should, not necessarily our clients, but prospective clients or people we talk to, how many people we talk to that can or should be using the Roth in their 401k and aren't?
Totally. There's not enough education on Roth. And I think that's why I wanted to pause for a second and just dive into that for a moment, the concepts of the different kinds of ways to save money for retirement for the future.
Yeah.
And then obviously what you're about to show here is probably going to be someone who did not maybe save for Roth accounts, but then now wants to turn that money into Roth, right? A Roth conversion technique.
Really good
right?
point. We see all the time clients come to our firm and they have really large IRA balances. And the IRA came from either their 401k or a previous IRA they had contributed to. So IRA stands for individual retirement account. IRAs are a tax deferred money type. So if you think about what types of money, which Alex just talked about, there's taxable money, there's tax deferred money, and there's tax free money. Really, those three buckets, which we'll add in here a visual.
And free money too, if Jason decides to give you money, by the way, don't forget that one.
Which, yes.
Thanks, Jason.
You're welcome.
Thanks, Jason at financialdetox.com.
There you go. So these buckets of money are really important. And so the example we're going to talk about today, let's just go ahead and show this particular client's balance sheet. So if you have a good financial advisor, they are certainly building your balance sheet and you are looking at the types of assets you have, how they're titled. This is John and Jane, sample name. Can see their liabilities. And so we look at their total net worth of 4.45 million. And then you go down and we can look at the types of accounts, which Alex just talked about, and we elaborated on a bit. Cash accounts, taxable investments. We also refer to that oftentimes as after-tax money. Then you have qualified retirement accounts. And in that case, that's an IRA or a tax-deferred account. And in this case, they have a nice sizable amount of real estate as well. As we look down further through this particular client's balance sheet, you can see how the accounts are established. There's checking account, there's a trust account, there's a 401k with $1 million for Jane, a 401k with about $1 million for John. They have a Scottsdale rental property, a Carlsbad residence, a second home out in Fort Worth. So you can see all the different scenarios there. So balance sheet planning is important because you really need to know what you have in order to appropriately plan with it. So that's the start. But then we say, okay, let's go take a look at the tax scenario, because when you're doing financial planning, taxes are a huge part of it. It's probably, Alex, you wanted to talk about business owners a little bit today, and maybe this will dovetail in. But when you look as a business owner or even an individual, one of the largest expense items, if not the largest expense item in your life, is going to be taxes. But yet, how many people are spending a significant amount of time, or their advisors are spending time analyzing every opportunity to exercise our constitutional right to pay the least amount of tax possible? The answer, unfortunately, is not very many, but this is what we do at IDA and Financial Detox is we go deeper. We go further into the financial planning process to make sure that we are helping you reduce the biggest expense you'll ever have, which is taxes. As you can see on this chart, this particular client scenario, this is looking at, and when you go a step deeper than just actually, I'm going to back up just one little bit, and I'm going to actually show a lifetime portfolio value. So in this case, this client, and this is where a lot of financial planners end, is they say, look, Mr. and Mrs. Client, you have enough assets that are going to last over your lifetime, continue to grow. And in the end of analysis, AKA death, you're going to have 7.5 million. If you add in all your real estate, you'll have 16 million. Life is good.
So if I'm John, I'm saying, and you're telling me I'm going to die when I'm 95 years old with a net worth of, I think go down a little bit again. I'm sorry.
Yes, sir.
I'm worth about $16 million in today's present value dollars. And I'm like, okay, I'm good. Thanks for the meeting.
Yeah, pretty much. And that's where it ends. And hey, we're going to manage your portfolio and do okay. But the problem with that is that if you talk to John and Jane and you say, would you, if we could show you how to create more money, would you be interested in that? Whether you use it for philanthropic needs or to give to your children or your grandchildren or to fund some hobbies or habits or buy that special sports car you always wanted, whatever it may be. Yeah. So this is where planning, yeah, me too. This is where planning typically ends, but here's where we now go back to the taxes and we go deeper because we're looking at our clients and we're saying, when are you paying taxes and how much are you paying? You can see here, there was a big tax year at the end of their working life. Yeah, this year because they made a lot of income and they paid a lot of taxes. And then you go into next year, 26, and they pay almost no taxes, 27, no taxes. So these are very low taxes paid.
Why is that? Because I have no income.
Because they have no income. They're not taking distributions from their IRAs or qualified retirement accounts. They're not in what's called required minimum distribution phase, which happens to require you to take money out of those tax deferred accounts once you turn 73, because the government needs to get their share of taxes that they've never collected. Because remember, you put the money in tax deferred. And so you've never paid tax on that money. It's grown and grown and grown. And eventually the IRS and the DOL and the government says, well, we need to get our fair share of taxes on that money. So they force you to take it out of those accounts, which at that point, it's taxed at the worst tax rate, ordinary income.
So for those 10 years or so, I'm living off of, I'm not working anymore. I'm not getting a paycheck, but I'm living off of maybe savings that are outside of my retirement accounts.
You're living off of savings or distributions from your taxable accounts or whatnot, rental income. But you have low income, so you're paying not a lot of taxes, but you see here, all of a sudden we start paying a lot of taxes. And then it really jumps when both people are in required minimum distributions and they're taking now money off of the portfolio, that the rate at which they're paying taxes is going up astronomically. And we want to try and get some of these taxes over here on the right side of the chart over into this area. A screen that would be great to pull up, Producer Brian, if we could, in the background and show, is the U.S. tax brackets. Because what people don't realize is that everybody pays the same amount of tax on the first, I'm just going to call it $25,000. Everybody pays the same tax on the $25,000 to the $51,000 you make. So it's not that when you have a little bit of extra income, it plops you in, it throws you into that next tax bracket and you pay the highest tax bracket. That's just your last dollars earned on the tax bracket. So we want to, the point being, we want to make sure we're paying taxes in those lower tax brackets if we can. So let's just take a look. In this case, we said to the client, we're going to establish a Roth IRA. And we are going to take money that you've saved in your traditional IRA, AKA traditional 401k, and we are going to convert that and pay tax, because when you convert it out of that account, you have to pay tax, but we're going to convert it into a Roth, pay tax today, and then let that money grow tax-free for the rest of your life. And
so red is the taxes I'm paying. Red is bad usually, right?
Yeah, red is bad usually, and good point. But it's an increase in taxes, as you can see identified here by the.
But I want to pay more taxes now because the gray. Is the gray good? I wish it was green instead of gray. But
I know, me too. The gray is good because in the case, this is the gray is less taxes. You've paid all this is what you now didn't
Yeah.
pay in tax. So we just smoothed it out, right? We took taxes from the right side of your life chart here, and we put them over in these lower tax brackets. So you were paying a pretty low tax rate. And we just balanced that out. What's the result? The result for this client was cumulative taxes over their life was $1.5 million. And because of this change, we literally had them paying $732,000 less in taxes over their lifetime.
There's the green. That's green.
That's
right?
the green, baby.
Yes. I wish it was bigger and bold.
Yeah, maybe we can bold that. But that's a big deal. But it's even bigger when you think about, well, what does that $732,000 of tax savings do for you? Well, that invested in this client's investment portfolio actually grew to 1.5 million. So the net benefit of total portfolio assets to the client by one simple Roth conversion strategy, looking a little deeper into the financial planning process and looking at real tax planning and implementing real tax planning. The result is literally 1.5 million extra dollars.
What, so if I'm the client, I'm John, how am I investing that money? What kind of like growth rate assumption am I making on that?
Around a 6.5% to 7% growth rate in this client's case. So a moderate, balanced portfolio, certainly not a
Bain Capital, not
a all growth, go get it. In
Yeah.
fact, these results become demonstrably bigger in a more aggressive portfolio because, of course, you would have a higher expected return over long periods of time. Those results become really impactful, even bigger. But I figured most people get interested when you start talking about $1.5 million of extra money. Pretty big deal when you're looking at percentage wise of the total portfolio assets for this client. You're talking about adding 10, 15% of net worth, 20% of net worth to their financial situation. And
it's a big deal.
It's a gigantic deal.
So most people don't do this because why?
They don't know, and their advisors just don't go deep enough.
What if they even have a good advisor who does show this to them? Even most people at this point probably might still not do it.
Well, they should, because it's when you look at it here and you look over on this right column of the marginal tax bracket, right? And you look at, better yet, is actually the second to the last column of effective income tax rate. You can see that 3%, 3%, 3%, 2%, 4%. The problem with that, you think, great, I'm not paying taxes. And I've literally had arguments with the CPA where the CPA was so proud to tell us that the client wasn't paying any taxes. And I'm like, that's a great job for a CPA looking at year over year, just year by year in a compartment. But the bigger problem is Mr. CPA or Mrs. CPA is down here in these later years, we're now paying 19% and 20%. And that's not good, even 26 in the last couple of years. That's not good if we could have utilized the lower total tax brackets here of 10 and 12%, right? That's not a lot to pay in tax, relatively speaking.
Totally. And if I'm, again, I'm going to just keep kind of hounding you because we get all these things from our clients real time. I'm saying, well, but I'm going to make a bet that taxes are going to go up in the future. Most people would probably argue that versus they're going to go down in the future. I don't know who's right. It almost doesn't matter who's right because our response to that would be, well, you don't know what taxes are going to do later on, right? You can only control kind of what you're doing right now, and you can forecast the future and make the best decisions 1 year at a time. Making a Roth conversion like this, you can do multiple year Roth conversions spread out over time as well and adjust as you go, right?
Yeah. And that's the best strategy is you convert enough to fill up those lower tax brackets, right? Convert enough to fill up the 10%, the 20%, those lower tax brackets, because regardless of what taxes do in the future, those are going to be relatively low taxes. And so you'd want to pay at least as much as you could in those. And the result is, as you see on the screen now, the result is second column from the right. the effective tax income rate. Now, instead of having 1% and 2%, you see we're utilizing those lower tax rates, which is a beautiful thing. The CPA took him 3 or 4 times. It's taken 3 or 4 times to get he or she to understand this, but they're smart people. And eventually they go, oh, this is brilliant, because again, we're able to save the client over $732,000 in taxes, even though we paid more taxes this year, next year, and the next 5 or 6 years. Yes, we paid more, but the net result was less taxes over time because we saved so much.
It's so good to have two different specialists working on your situation at the same time, like forward thinking versus CPAs are typically short term or even backward thinking, right? Back a year or so.
Yeah,
just like anything else,
right? Yeah.
Just like anything else in life, you want to have 2 different perspectives, both expert ones, so that you can take the best information from both and combine them to help your situation be the best possible outcome.
Yeah. This is a something that we've worked with for almost most of all of our clients at some point. And yet when we bring in prospective clients to the firm, almost none have ever had this experience, this deep intrinsic financial planning experience, where whether it's our CPAs, because we do tax returns here at IDA and Financial Detox, or whether we're collaborating with an outside CPA, which we do all the time. It's a beautiful thing to get those minds working together and then to actually go a step further, several steps further. And this kind of planning makes big, impactful differences in people's financial lives. And this is just one example. We have lots of other examples. We'll try and hit more of these on our Financial Detox show, but pretty fun to see it live. And this is our actual planning tool that our clients experience. And they have their own view of this. And every time we meet with those clients, we're reviewing not only the decision to do Roth conversions or whatever the other financial decisions may be, but we're reviewing the outcome on those decisions and how every dollar in and out, taxes, investment, spending, every cash flow dollar, how it's impacting their plan over their entire life. The result is so beautiful, because what happens is you end up having this intense financial peace of mind, because you've not only looked at today and what you're doing, but you've modeled that out for every year of your life, including expected volatility in the markets, ups and downs, all the planning strategies we've deployed. And next quarter, when you meet with your advisor again, or triannual or semi-annual, you review it again all the way out through the rest of your life. So the confidence continues to grow and grow, and that helps people make better investment decisions, and the behavioral blunders become minimized. The results become maximized.
Good stuff. I'm in. Sign me up. Let's convert
Roth
some
conversions. So Roth conversions, Roth conversions are awesome to use. Depends on your situation. It's not for everybody, but if you're not getting this type of financial planning from your advisor, you need to switch advisors, because this is why you pay financial advisors 1% or whatever you're paying them to manage your assets. They should be comprehensively looking at how and why we are managing the assets that we're managing. That's part of what a good financial advisor does. So at Financial Detox and IDA Wealth, this is what we do for you. And we invite you to check us out at idawealth.com. Yeah, you can also give us a call, 877-707-8889. Is that the number, Alex? I forgot.
That's one of them. Yeah.
Okay, good. 707-8889. But check us out. We'd love to help you. You can subscribe and like to our YouTube channel. We always appreciate that, so we can help get more great financial planning information out to our listeners and users, helping you make better decisions and manage your wealth for maximum impact. I think that's it for today. I'm Jason Labrum.
And I'm Alex Klingensmith.
Yes, we nailed it right there, buddy. That was it. That's it. Thank you. And thank you so much to our producer team. We appreciate you tuning in. As always, we appreciate that we have the audience to share this information with, and we hope it makes a big impact in your financial life. Thanks again. Financial Detox. We'll catch you on the next show.